There is a house deep beneath the surface of a forgotten lake. No one remembers how it got there. No one dares speak of what it holds. But tonight, we'll go there together and listen to what it has to say. Long ago, in a quiet village nestled between the arms of tall pine-covered hills, there was a lake so still, so untouched by time, that it reflected the moonlight like polished silver. They called it Stillmere. On most nights, you could hear the soft croaking of frogs and the hush of wind brushing against the reeds. But on certain nights, when the mist curled low over the water and the stars refused to shine, the villagers claimed they saw something beneath the surface. Not a fish, not a log, but a rooftop and a chimney, a house sunken in silence, perfectly preserved, as if it had been waiting. This is where our story begins. With a man named Elliot, who came to Stillmere seeking rest. He was tired of noise, of cities, of people who spoke too fast, and dreams that kept waking him in the middle of the night. He rented a small cottage by the lake, old stone walls, wooden beams that creaked when the wind passed through, and windows that looked straight into the mist. For the first time in many years, he slept deeply, fully, but not without dreams. The dreams were strange and quiet. He dreamed of staircases that spiraled down into the water, of lanterns glowing in the depths, of laughter far away, as if underwater. Each night the dreams grew clearer, and each morning Elliot found a small puddle of lake water on his bedroom floor. It made no sense. The windows were shut, the roof was solid, but there it was. A puddle, cold, perfectly still. One evening when the sky was the color of bruised lavender and the clouds hung low like sleeping whales, Elliot stepped into a rowboat. He didn't take a paddle, he didn't need one. The boat drifted on its own, smooth, soundless, as if pulled by an unseen hand. The lake shimmered. Silent, endless. Then he saw it. Beneath the glassy surface, the house, not a ruin, not a wreck, but whole, with a porch swing swaying, a light in the upstairs window, and the door slightly open, surreal and soft exploration. The water rose around him like silk, and Elliot sank without fear. He drifted down, past lily pads and sleeping fish, past forgotten dreams and drifting memories. The house opened before him, and inside was not darkness, but warmth. A fire crackling in the hearth, soft rugs, books that whispered when he passed, and a cat curled in a sunbeam, though there was no sun. Elliot wandered the rooms, each one filled with echoes of peace, of rest, of lives long gone but never hurried. He sat in a chair by the fire. The flames made no sound, and yet he could feel them. Not heat, but memory, like the comfort of childhood dreams that you can't quite remember, but never truly forget. In that house beneath the lake, time forgot its name, and Elliot forgot his worries. He forgot the city, the noise, the weight behind his eyes, the ache in his chest. He remembered instead the feeling of stillness, of letting go, of being held by the world without asking it for anything. And the house, it did not ask, it only welcomed. When he woke, he was back in the boat, drifting, the mist lifting like a curtain, the cottage behind him, a faint silhouette, the puddle on the floor, now gone, but he knew it had not been a dream, or maybe it had. But dreams sometimes hold more truth than waking ever can. Elliot smiled, not because he understood, but because he didn't have to. Stillmere held its secrets and gave them only to those who truly came to rest. So now, let go, let the lake take you, drift gently into the depths where the world grows quiet. And if you listen, you might hear the fire crackling in the house beneath the lake, and you'll know that you too have been welcomed. Sleep well and dream gently, but dreams are not always endings. Sometimes they're beginnings.
Elliot returned to the lake the next evening. He didn't mean to. His feet simply took him. The night air was soft, cool, fragrant with damp pine and faded memories. The rowboat waited, as if it had never moved, as if it had always known he'd be back. This time, he brought nothing. No lantern, no coat, only his breath, slow and steady. The lake received him in silence. The boat drifted, no paddles, no ripples, no time. The house was gone, but not lost. Only hidden, only resting, as he now would. Elliot returned to the cottage. The puddle was no longer there. The bed felt softer, warmer, lighter. He lay down, closed his eyes, and listened. The lake was quiet, but if you listened closely, very closely, you could hear it. The house breathing beneath the water, the fire still crackling, the cat still purring, still Mir had accepted him. And in that stillness, he finally let go, smiling at nothing and everything. Elliot stood still and watched them all. He felt no regret, only awe. All these selves, all these lives, were still his, still part of him, not lost, only waiting. At the end of the corridor, one final door. It was plain, unmarked. When Elliot opened it, he stepped out onto the surface of the lake. But he was not sinking. He was standing, as if the water remembered him, respected him. The moon above had returned, large, golden, kind. He turned. No tasks, no weight, only drifting, only discovery, only wonder. When Elliot awoke, he was still in the house, but now it felt deeper, more alive. He walked again, through a hallway now lined with mirrors, but none of them showed his reflection. Instead, each mirror held a version of him from a different life. One, a painter covered in blue and gold. Another, a quiet gardener tending roses in a world without words. Another still, an old man sitting in the same chair by the lake. A houseboat on wings, floating above an endless meadow. Another shimmered in the distance, a forest of clocks, each ticking in a different rhythm, none of them wrong. Elliot sat down. The dreams did not flee. They circled him, welcomed him, asked nothing of him. He closed his eyes, and for the first time in years, he dreamed without fear. The dream carried him through a city made of candlelight, where people spoke in poems and street lamps bowed politely as you passed. There were no worries, because here, in the house beneath the lake, there was no sadness, only remembrance, only peace. Beyond the library, a staircase spiraled downward, wider than seemed possible. Down, down, until Elliot reached a door made of mist. He stepped through it and entered a room without corners, without walls. The sky above him, starless, but not dark. The ground beneath, soft as moss, breathing, alive. Here, dreams wandered, half-formed, unfinished, unclaimed. One drifted past him. One vibrated like morning rain on a rooftop. Another held the sigh of a woman watching snowfall. There were jars too, small, crystal clear. Inside them, sounds swirled like fireflies. The crack of an old record, the whistle of a midnight train, the laughter of children from long ago. Elliot touched one jar. It sang gently in his hand, the voice of his mother calling him for supper. He had not heard that sound in decades. Tears welled in his eyes, but they did not fall. And beneath the house, exactly where he had left it, only this time, its windows were open. Inside, the fire still glowed, but there was something new. A hallway, longer than he remembered, lined with doors, each one carved with symbols, curves like sleeping waves, dots like stars lost in fog. He opened the first door and stepped inside. A library, but not just of books. No, this was a library of sounds. He walked slowly, each shelf humming softly. Once in a quiet part of the world where pine trees grew tall, and the stars were clearer than anywhere else, there was a hidden lake, untouched by time. This lake, known only to a few, was said to whisper stories when the wind drifted across its still waters. Each evening, the lake mirrored the sky so perfectly that travelers who stumbled upon it believed they had found the edge of a dream. The reflection of clouds gliding across its glassy surface made the air feel slow, as if the lake could stretch time itself. In a small wooden cabin on the lake's edge lived an old woman named Elira. Her hair was long and silver like the moonlight, and her voice was as soft as mist. She lived alone, but never felt lonely. The trees spoke in rustles, the owls blinked slow wisdom, and the lake whispered memories, old, forgotten, and sweet. Elira had once been a traveler. She had walked mountain ridges, sailed quiet rivers, and slept beneath desert stars. But when she found the Whispering Lake many years ago, she knew she had reached the place where her soul could rest. Each night, she would sit on the wooden porch with a blanket around her shoulders, a candle flickering beside her, and a warm cup of chamomile tea in her hands. And always, always she listened, because the lake never said the same thing twice. Tonight, the lake spoke of a man who wandered forests in search of the perfect sound, a note so pure it could only be played once, and then lost forever. He carried a wooden flute carved from the branch of a tree that had grown near thunder and rain. He played under moonlight, under snow, under cherry blossoms, but still the sound escaped him until he found the Whispering Lake. There, in the hush of twilight, he stood barefoot on the rocks and played a single note. It was so perfect that the trees leaned in, the stars paused, and the water shimmered, not with light, but with memory. The lake had never forgotten it. Elira took a sip of her tea, letting the warmth slide down her throat like golden silk. She listened, and the lake whispered the note again. Not exactly the same, but close enough that her heart ached with something like joy. When he finally wrote, it wasn't in words, it was in circles and waves, shapes that echoed the wind through pine needles and the hush of snowfall on the water. No one knew what the pages meant, but when others read them, their breathing slowed, their thoughts softened. They slept without dreams, wrapped in a stillness that lingered long after waking. Elira smiled again. She remembered that traveler. He had given her a page once. She still kept it under her pillow, and when sleep was hard to find, she would unfold it and let her eyes drift over the lines until morning came, like a quiet friend. It was about a listener, someone far away, perhaps lying in bed, perhaps drifting just at the edge of sleep, someone whose heart needed calm, whose spirit needed stillness. The lake spoke directly to them. It said, "You are safe, you are loved, you have arrived at a place where you can rest, only to breathe, gently, slowly, softly." And when the story ended, it left behind only silence, not empty silence, but full of comfort, like the pause between heartbeats or the hush of snow falling in the forest. Elira closed her eyes, and so did the listener, and the lake watched over them both. The night deepened, and the candle on Elira's porch slowly melted into a pool of golden wax. Beyond the glass, the lake lay still, like a sleeping guardian under a blanket of stars. But somewhere, deep beneath its surface, something stirred gently, not dangerous, not loud, only ancient, only waiting. It was said that the lake not only whispered stories, it collected dreams, not just any dreams, but those soft, fleeting ones that come right before waking, the kind you forget moments after your eyes open, the ones filled with feather-light feelings, distant music, and people you've never met. They drifted down into the water, where they curled up like leaves in autumn, a figure in a robe woven from clouds, walking across the lake without leaving a ripple. They carried a small satchel, glowing gently from within. Inside that satchel were dreams, hundreds of them. Some sang lullabies in soft voices, some flickered like fireflies in a jar. Others gave off scents, lavender, rain on stone, fresh bread in winter. The dream collector, as she called them, had appeared in her dreams just once, but somehow she felt their presence every night since. That night, as Alara drifted closer to sleep, she felt it again. Not a sound, not a shadow, just a sense of calm passing over her like warm water. The kind of peace that arrives when you know you're not alone, when your breath and the world's breath fall into the same rhythm. Outside, the lake reflected a shooting star. It skimmed the sky and vanished without a sound. A wish whispered in the dark. Miss Lyra whispered too, not words, but the quiet release of breath. As she closed her eyes, she imagined the dream collector again, not walking this time, but waiting near the water's edge. They held the glowing satchel, opened it, and gently placed something inside. It was Alira's dream from the night before, of slow dancing with the wind under trees of silver leaves. The dream shimmered, sighed, and settled into its new home. Safe, kept, remembered, the lake rippled just once, and then stilled. The stars above blinked slower. The wind leaned against the cabin like a tired traveler, and all across the forest, sleep deepened like a soft tide rolling in. Alira's breathing slowed. Her hand rested near the cup. Her smile remained. Far away, another listener, perhaps you felt the same calm. Maybe the dream collector visited you too. You are warm. You are exactly where you are meant to be. Let the night hold you now. Let the whisper of the lake cradle your thoughts. Let yourself drift softly, slowly, peacefully into dreams that will be kept forever. The days had grown shorter at the lake's edge, not cold, not bitter, just quieter. Even the birds spoke in gentler tones, and when the sun set, it did so slowly, as if reluctant to leave. Alira now wrapped herself in thicker blankets as she sat outside, but her eyes still held the same soft glow as they watched the sky melt into water. This evening, the lake seemed to hum, a low melodic sound like a lullaby sung in a language without words. Alira listened, as always. The candle flickered beside her, dancing to a rhythm only the wind could hear. And then, just as the sky turned deepest blue, a new story arrived, floating on the lake's breath. It began with a feather, white, soft, impossibly light. It drifted down from the treetops, turning and swaying in the breeze, until it landed on the surface of the lake without making a sound. Instead of sinking, it glided across the water, and where it passed, the water shimmered like glass, touched by moonlight. On the far side of the lake, where the pines stood oldest, a figure walked the shoreline with a lantern, not the dream collector. This one was younger, maybe even a child. Their coat was long and patched with threadbare stars. The lantern they carried gave off a warm orange glow, like the last light of sunset. They were searching for something small, something forgotten, not an object, but a feeling, a memory, soft and frayed at the edges, tucked away in the corners of the mind, one that only appeared when everything else had gone quiet. When the heart was still, the feather led them. It curved across the water, as if it knew the way. The child followed along the shore, one slow step at a time. Their lantern lit a soft path through the night, and above them, the stars moved like whispers. The lake watched, quiet and loving. Alira sipped her tea, the warmth grounding her gently in the moment. She knew this story, though she'd never heard it before, because she too had once searched with a lantern, long ago, not in the forest, but in her own heart, searching for a part of herself she'd misplaced in the busyness of life. She remembered. The child reached a bend in the shoreline where the trees opened wide. There, the feather stopped. It hovered in the air for just a moment, then slowly drifted down onto a stone marked with carvings, not in letters, but in feelings. Alira saw them too. Hope, calm, forgiveness, peace. The child knelt, placed the lantern beside the stone, and from their pocket they took a small object, a smooth pebble worn from years of being carried. They placed it gently on the carvings, a gift, an offering, maybe a thank you. The lake rippled in response, a soft yes in water form. Alira exhaled. It hovered in the air for just a moment, then slowly drifted down onto a stone marked with carvings, not in letters, but in feelings. Elira saw them too: hope, calm, forgiveness, peace. The child knelt, placed the lantern beside the stone, and from their pocket they took a small object, a smooth pebble worn from years of being carried. They placed it gently on the carvings, a gift, an offering, maybe a thank you. The lake rippled in response, a soft yes in water form. Elira exhaled. Her heart felt warm, like a door had opened. She watched the story end as the child turned back, feather now tucked behind one ear, lantern swinging gently with each step. They were no longer searching, only walking, only at peace. The lake whispered once more, just a final breath across its surface. Everything you need is already within you. The candle beside Elira flickered. The sky above cradled the stars like a lullaby cradles sleep, and far away, a listener's eyelids grew heavy. You, perhaps, breathing slow, drifting in your own way. You don't need to search anymore tonight. The lake remembers for you. The stories are here. The stillness is safe. Let your thoughts float like feathers. Let your dreams walk beside lanterns. And rest. Morning never truly rushed at the whispering lake. It unfolded like a slow breath, stretching light across the water one golden ray at a time. Mist hovered just above the surface, dancing like silk over glass. Elira, wrapped in a woven shawl, stood on her porch, watching it shift, listening for what the lake would say today. Some days, the lake said little. Other days, it told stories. Even the wind leaned in to hear. Today was different. Today it showed, out across the water, where mist moved slowest, a shape began to form. Not a person, not a boat, but something unexpected, a mirror. It rose gently from the center of the lake, as if lifted by invisible hands, tall, simple, framed in moonlight. Its surface shimmered, not with reflection, but with memory. And Elira stepped closer, the steam from her tea curling upward. The lake was inviting her, and not just her, someone else was near, far from the lake, in a quiet bedroom, perhaps yours. Another listener stirred, eyes closed, body resting, but the heart curious. The mirror called to you too, not loudly, just a tug in your chest, a warmth behind your ribs, the kind of feeling you follow, even if you don't know why. The lake showed a scene, a child sitting beneath a willow, bare feet dangling into still water. They were quiet, content, watching dragonflies skim across the surface. This wasn't someone else's dream, it was yours. A real moment, long ago. One your mind had let go, but your heart never did. The mirror shifted. Now it showed a smile, yours again, but older, shared with a friend you've almost forgotten. Their laugh echoed softly across the lake. No words, just the feeling, safety, warmth, ease. A memory held not in your thoughts, but in your bones. Elira closed her eyes. The mirror had shown her reflections too, some joyful, some bittersweet, but none painful. Not here, at the whispering lake. Even the saddest things arrived, wrapped in softness. Even the hardest memories were cradled gently. The mist thickened for a moment, then parted like curtains. Now the mirror showed only water again. Its purpose was never to keep, only to remind. Just enough to let you smile, just enough to help you release. Elira touched her heart, as if saying thank you. Far away, you shifted beneath your blankets. The feeling lingered, like a song you don't remember hearing, but hum anyway. A calm settled in your chest. Your body softened. The lake had shown you what you needed. Just enough. Just tonight. The mirror slowly sank back into the lake, mist curling around it like a farewell embrace. The surface stilled, and a single heron took flight. Chetric wings, slicing the morning air in silence. Elira watched it rise and vanish into the sky. Another story, already on its way. And as always, the lake whispered its closing words. Words for Elira, words for you. You are whole, you are enough. There is nothing more to do right now. Let the reflection fade. Let yourself rest. Float, dream, breathe. You are safe here, always. If you are still listening, I wish you have a good nap, and if you are already in sleep, that's my success. Please subscribe.